kiss me tail. Oil don't spoil. 3 of them come like 3 blind mice. Don't you know? Manly Burnham Barrow. They're running about only setting strife, cutting their tails with Venezuela's knife. Did you ever see such jackasses in your life as them 3 blind mice? Ivan said, look, doctor, didn't you ask Venezuela for warships to help we in this empty mutiny? From Barrow we get rum, from Manly aluminum. Burnham feeding we with rice, yet you calling him a blind mice. Eric said, let Burnham keep he rice. I've got oil, they will have to pay my price. Oil don't spoil. 3 of them come like 3 blind mice. Don't you know? I treat them like if they were my wife. I give them money like peas by Christ. But it's my own throat they're trying to slice. Them 3 blind mice. So true. Goodbye.
This is Caribbean.
Them 3 mice do not know is I have them on the toe. Food for them to be fed. Without me all of them dead. Is my people have to toil to give them pitch and oil. Yet they back in Venezuela and don't want my land to smelter. Eric say they value my money as dirt, but I've got oil. 80 cents this it is worth, but oil don't spoil. They remind me of them 3 blind mice. Don't you know? Manly Burnham Barrow. They go beg me again for what I have, but this time I'm going to make them starve. To get my dollars, they best think twice. Them 3 blind. If I lie, ask Smiley. Both of us met Manly, traveling from St. Lucia. We met him in Grenada. I told him what the doc say. Manly blurt out right away. Tell Eric he has not died, for he has blind men at his side. Manly say, them 3 deputies that he have is the oil. 3 spineless men of straw have him spoiled. 3 of them come like 3 blind. Manly call Kamal Chambers error. Anything the doc say is right for them. The 3 of them are really yes men. Did you ever see such rat-tailed men in your life as them 3 blind mice?
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is, of course, the Monday edition of the Corridor Transformation. Well, only to, of course, be greeted with the news that there has been a postponement of the Monday night forum of the ruling party, the UNC. And clearly, of course, wherever the UNC is, well, you would expect that the coalition of interest will follow or would be in their presence. But that being as it may, the fact of the matter is that today is the 21st of July 2025, and I think it's important, of course, as we move inexorably to the 27th of July, and in memory of course, that unfortunate blot on Trinidad and Tobago's not only democracy, but our evolution as a society in harmony and, of course, consistent with the principle of the international order, where, of course, there are rules, and within our society there are also rules, whether you want to call them laws, you want to call them regulations. The fact of the matter is that all of that is designed for the good and the proper running of the society. We have often said, as we did yesterday, when we practice, of course, a fundamental principle of democracy, over 500,000 years ago, when the Greeks introduced, of course, the whole question of democracy and the representation by the people, of the people, and for the people, and therefore the participation of every single resident, every single citizen is crucial. I want at this stage to thank Kamala Prasad Bisesa for, of course, introducing what can be considered to be a semblance, not in totality, but a semblance of that fundamental principle. That is to say, before the budget is read, pronounced, and delivered, there must be, of course, at least constituency pre-budget consultations. Well, that of the Lavatil East, Lavatil West, Port of Spain South, and of course Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, they had theirs yesterday, or we had ours yesterday, at the Queen's Park Savannah Grandstand. It was a grand affair, as over 1,000 persons, of course, descended there and gave their view. Yes, there would have been some political clashes, if you want to call it that, or political, what I consider to be infusion, but by and large, it was all about, of course, treating with the budgetary arrangements and for the purpose for which we have called, or for which this exercise was called or pursued. I like to call a budget within the context of my definition for economics. You see, economics is the process where human beings, because it is a human situation, so it's a social science, how people end up choosing from a almost limitless variety of goods and services, almost limitless variety of goods and services, how people end up choosing with limited resources. And limited resources or finite resources simply mean we can supplant that with the term money. So you have a limited amount of money, but you have all kinds of goods and services, which of course tantamount to wants and needs. How does one end up choosing from among them to satisfy as best as possible the current circumstance, and of course to treat with good relations one to another, talking about human beings, and at the same time get progress going. Well, I consider a budget to be the futuristic aspect of economics. Futuristic prediction. Yes, a prediction. Because that is what it really is. A budget is a prediction placed with various variables or scenarios to cater for, of course, the society. That is what a budget is all about. But once again, let me define economics. How people end up choosing from a limitless variety of goods and services with limited resources. Well, from that definition, a budget clearly will also recognize there's a limited amount of money and there are limitless amount of what? Of goods and services, desires, wants and needs, and how you end up, of course, allocating resources to meet those wants and needs. Very, very simple. I don't think you need anything much more or more simpler than that or more complicated. So we had that exercise yesterday. Tomorrow I'm going to bring some excerpts of that. I had my say. Philip Alexander had his say. The COP representative had their say. And of course, the wider population from the constituencies of Lavatel East, West, Port of Spain South, and Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West also had their say. It was a very dynamic one, and the discussion, of course, centered around clearly a number of issues that they would like the government to address. It includes fundamentally the situation of the family, and therefore when one talks about the family in the context of modern Trinidad and Tobago and the propensity to gravitate towards an egalitarian type family arrangement, mommy, daddy, children. Of course, there's still the traditional way, of course, you have the extended families. But whether it's extended family or the egalitarian type family, there are fundamental things that are going wrong in Trinidad and Tobago that needs to be addressed by, of course, budgetary arrangements. So we can talk about employment, or we can talk about crime and criminality. We can talk about the breakdown in the education system and or delinquency, and of course the aggressiveness of young people on their way to or within the classroom or from classroom, their aggressive behavior. How do you treat with that, and what resources should be allocated to them or to these things? Yes, indeed, we have the environment as well. We have, of course, sources of income, and of course sources of expenditure, which is almost always more than you have in terms of income. So you have to prioritize. That is what this is all about. Prioritization. You have to look at crime and criminality. You have to look, of course, at the judiciary and providing the resources so that they can do their work effectively and adjudicating on matters, whether it be one of a constitutional nature or one of a private nature or whatever criminal nature. And criminal simply means that which, of course, the society ascribed to be criminal, meaning that what the individual have to pay to society for breach of the criminal code. That's all it is. But the fact of the matter is that all of these must be catered for in a budget, and the extent to which in monetary terms you can cover all of them adequately again relies on the availability of resources. In this case, of course, we want to say money. Yes, indeed. So when we talk about the education and the provision, for example, in that process of laptops, the reintroduction thereof, there is a cost. You have to have, of course, what is called recurring expenditure in terms of salaries and emoluments. We have to look at, in terms, of course, in terms of recurring expenditure such as electricity, water, and other what I consider to be educational instruments and implements so as to facilitate and to assist in the education process, whether it also reference having, of course, the furniture that is required for seating accommodation, air condition, fans, etc., in order to, of course, the teachers or the lecturers to impart their knowledge and for the students to absorb the knowledge as they move on to other levels and on their way, of course, to adulthood and taking their place in society as far as their vocation is concerned. It doesn't matter, because this is according to the functionalist sociologists. The society is like a body, and of course every part functions to assist the whole, and the body itself is a sum of its various parts. So the hands is designed to do one thing, the eyes designed to do something else, the nose and nostrils for something else, the mouth and tongue for something else, the heart for something else, the digestive system for something else, the liver for something else. You understand where I'm coming from? The, of course, pancreas and, of course, the bile glands, for example, does something else. The point I am making here is that all of us in our respective capacities make certain that the society functions. So whether you are a garbage cleaner, whether you are a garbage collector, whether you are a janitor, whether you are an electrician, whether you are a driver of whatever vehicle or equipment that you have gravitated to or take a liking for, because you are earning a living from that. Oh, indeed, whether you be a medical doctor, whether you be, of course, a lecturer at some university, whether you are a pilot, whether you are a simple teacher, all of that comes together, including, of course, whether you are a businessman or entrepreneur, and whether you specialize in some form of entrepreneurial activities or business or commercial activity or as part of the economic fabric of the society. I'm talking here about whether you specialize in the provision of grocery items, or you are engaged in the delivery of security cameras, or you are engaged, of course, in furniture manufacturing and delivery and, of course, provision, whether you are into IT, whether you are into computer sales and repairs, and we can go on and on, whether you are engaged, of course, right now in the activity of being a presenter on a particular programs, such as, of course, the corridor transformation, that will, of course, require the use of equipment, or should I say, computers, microphones, cameras. All of those things will require somebody or somebodies to make it, and that, of course, the end user will be people like us. But the fact is, we have a function. Without these cameras and without the microphone, you would not be able, and of course your own television and or computer or other device such as the smartphone, this would not have been possible. So you think you get my drift. But let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night. Good night, Lennox. I know the program to listen about people and the work and whatever,
Yes.
etc. I working at a particular company, right? Right? I don't want to call it in, so
No problem.
you get in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? We still get double time on a Sunday when we work. Now they take away the double time. Now they tell us that they're removing the double time, but you're getting your 40 hours. You can't get no time and a half and thing. They take away all of that, right?
Wow.
Now
Yes.
from the 40 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want you to work 35 hours, 33 hours. Is that legal? I mean, they say we are casual workers.
Well, first and foremost, for it to be illegal, I trust that the minimum wage is being paid at the hourly rate. If it
Yeah,
is
$20.50.
right, so they are paying that.
Yes.
They are paying that, right? But of course,
But they will not get any 40 hours in some cases.
I understand the strategy that the businessmen are deploying, but I'm concerned about the Sunday work. Because that is supposed to be, in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, sort of the end of the week holiday, and therefore for that it is traditional. It is, I don't know if it is legal for people in the private sector, because I assume it's in the private sector you are in.
Yeah, private sector, yeah.
Yes, to get some kind of compensation for the, what I consider to be taking away your rest and or leisure time on a Sunday. So I'll have to look into it. So whether or not it is illegal
And then
or is a
again, you have
practice,
to
I
pay
don't
for
know.
your lunch.
Pardon me?
They're taking out money. They're taking away, you have to pay for your lunch hour. They're minusing your lunch hour when you work. You're paying for your lunch.
Yeah, they
lunch
will
hour.
do that because they are, let's say, some of these employers have become extremely unscrupulous. Only because they have to pay you for the hour that is legal, they now, of course, find ways to cut, to save them money by, of course, giving you a lunchtime. You have a lunchtime, but it is not considered to be in the hourly paid package that is expected of you. I think that is despicable. What I will do, since you raised that point, I will communicate with the Minister of Labor and see whether or not that is something that is infringing some law that we may have on the books, but the business people are attempting to manipulate and to, of course, rob you because you would be on the compound and and so on and so forth. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the passage you're paying for transportation, right? When you work that, you're getting $769, $740 according to the deduction from the NIS and HS, right? Health charge. How could you expect workers to live on that who paying rent, who have children to mind, when you're paying almost $250 to $200 a week in transport traveling? How you expect people to live? You understand? And when you're done, according to the class of work, you cannot even go overboard the time because they're watching all of that.
I'll have to look into
You
that.
understand?
Yeah, I've never
So
focusing.
even if they raise the minimum wage $25, which will be in time if they're doing that. How you expect people to live? You're barely surviving. And it's a big establishment, eh?
Yeah. They are finding ways. I got wind of that kind of approach in the cloth stores and they around Port of Spain and so on Queen Street and so on, where they don't pay for lunch. Your lunch is as if they didn't take you away from your home and you had to pay passage to reach there, and your lunch really and truly is technically a standby to come back on to work. But standby in their favor, because if you reach back late,
don't eat.
If you reach back late, you see what happens. So therefore, everything is focused on the job, which of course they have created by virtue of having a business. So there must be some kind of humane solution, some kind of humane consideration. So I'll have the minister look at that and see whether or not we can find out if it is legal or not.
Well, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. We there working for you. You must eat. You can't say we have to pay. If we say you skip lunch and you fall
and
down
you're eating in standby for them. You're eating in standby for them because you had to eat, but you are constrained because you have to go in your mind that you have to go back to work. Right, so it's the work that
and
is
the thing is,
centered.
if you go board and they fight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fight you.
All right, so I will look at that and see whether or not I'm trying to get
thanks for your time, and I hope that things change, man. No, you can't if you're working on PNM and side down.
Right.
You understand? Hello.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm trying to get to see if I have see if I get the minister online. Trying to see if I get the minister online. Let me see if I get him.
Hey, Lennox.
Hey, good night. Let me tell you one time. I'm on my program, the Corridor Transformation, but just wanted to know from you whether or not it is legal for employers to consider lunchtime not part of the hour that they have to pay hourly paid per person. Is there any legal situation there or not?
Well, I'm not a person entitled to eat. But you're talking about in the context of the minimum wage, I imagine.
Yes, in minimum wage. Let's say you're working at a cloth store, you're working by the hour. They give you lunchtime because you are there. You are there because of the work. If the work was not around, you would most likely would not have been there. But
the question is whether the minimum wage entitled you to a paid lunch hour. That's what you want to find out.
Yeah, whether it's whether it's supposed to be
whether minimum wage act entitled it right, all right. Hold on a second.
Good, okay. People, of course, this is the Minister of Labour, Mr. Lenroy Batiste, online to treat with that particular matter because I think it's sufficient to ask him to make an intervention at this point in time. Yeah. So he's gathering his thoughts and is very versed in the labour industry, and of course, I suppose that is why he is the Minister of Labour today. So he has asked us to hold on. But while, of course, I think maybe he might have been doing something because, this was impromptu, wasn't planned, but I thought it was sufficiently important to, of course, seek the assistance of the Minister of Labour, who is very accommodating. I want to thank him, of course, for responding.
Doesn't provide it. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Go ahead, Honourable Minister. Go ahead.
We are now looking at that minimum. Yeah, we are looking at the minimum wage act. From what I've been advised, it's not clearly stated.
Oh, so it's optional. It's optional.
It's almost discretionary at this point, but that is good. We are looking at amending that act.
Oh, I see.
And let me quickly add. Yes, we're looking at amending that act right away. So I have to look at it myself.
Okay.
But yes, we are working on amending the Minimum Wage Act to make sure that those things are addressed frontally.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, man. And listen, that issue that we came to you on, we'll be drafting a memorandum to see if we could work out an arrangement with the ministry, because our employment facility, I mean, is waxing warm. We are getting work. People are registering, and so we have over. When we came to you, we had 400. Well, now we're over 1,000 persons registering for work, and
Right.
and of course the numbers of persons that are providing would want to provide employment opportunities. Businessmen are also registering at an alarming rate as well. So we will be in contact. All right. Anything you want to tell the national and the world as to that may be on your mind, that you could use this opportunity to do?
Not right now. I'm in the middle of something, but not right now.
All right. I really appreciate your taking time to, of course, suspend what you're doing in the middle of in order to talk with us. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of the night. Yeah, bye-bye.
Right, you're welcome. Yeah,
yes,
bye-bye.
All right, people, of course, that was, of course, the Minister of Labour, Mr. Lenroy Batiste. You see, under PNM government, you couldn't do that, you know. You don't even know who the Minister of Labour is. First he is innocuous and, of course, out of mind and out of sight. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend.
Good night to everyone.
Yes.
That listening. Freeport here.
Yes.
Well, I see Rowley asking a question, but he's supposed to answer that himself. He want to know what wrong he did.
You sure?
You
sure that he has not gone stark and irrevocably mad?
Well, I say like this man bathed with acid, he come back clean.
Well, not even acid could cleanse him, because he has the capacity to spoil vinegar, and that is very difficult to spoil.
You know, that man shameless, boy. That man shameless.
Yes.
Oh my God. Hey, and
you have any comment to make
PNM.
on did you hear the Minister of Labour just now? You have any comment to make on that? Because I know you are a grassroots man and you are concerned with the exploitation, particularly of women who have to work. And there's a woman who called saying that she's in the private sector, but of course the business person or the business space doesn't see lunchtime as a solid hour for which they have to commit the minimum wage, and therefore after they get the hour, they come back and then the minimum wage recording resumes. What are your views?
Lennox, you know, when I talk, a lot of people belly does roll.
Yes.
But you see these businessmen and them, they does not care about anybody. It may have one or two in between, but the majority, if they could work you free, they do it. If they could work you day and night for 8 hours pay, they do it. And I don't care what nobody say about me. I pass through them thing. Work long hours for 8 hours pay. I know about it. And the woman and them been take advantage of. So and yesterday the only thing I forget to tell the people and them, if they don't come out and meet the authorities wouldn't know what's going on with them, because it touched me to see how much people shed tears there yesterday. You know?
Yes, boy.
And
Yeah. Oh, yes. You were at the consultation yesterday. Yes, indeed. I mean, it was a very emotive, by and large, exercise as well. You know, you wonder if, and it appears to be, you know, commonplace. It's not to say it's an exception to the rule. Almost everybody has some living in some very harrowing circumstance. They cannot put food on the table, but they have children, They did not talk about bad relations, because I mean one would expect they would have helpers and so on, but most of them seem to be single parent mothers or women. Go ahead.
Yes. And the hard part it is, those people, they look like majority of them was supporting the PNM. And you treating your supporters like that, and when they turn against you now, you have a lot of things to say. This is why I asking you and Mr. Philip to talk to our leader. We don't want to go down that road. Let our councillors and our MP look after the people.
Yeah, and that was one of the issues that was raised there as well. The quality of the representatives that would have access, because they are public officers and therefore access to the public purse, so to speak, whether directly, indirectly, whether sufficiently or insufficiently. The fact is that they had to be a little more courteous, they had to be a little more, let's say, congenial, and they have to be more sympathetic, and the effort, elbow grease must be applied in a more aggressive way to solve the problems of the burgesses that would come under their consideration. Go ahead.
Yes, well, I was in my MP office today, and I want to tell you, these people in that office, they're very helpful. And I told the manager that. I say, you is very helpful, and you just listen to everybody. I made 2 reports today. There is a street light not working, I report that. And on my side by the Upper C, Upper Capichaima Presbyterian School, there is a tree fall down on to the roadway. They trim out far as where the roadway is, and the pavement is blocked.
Right.
And the councillor is supposed to be passing there maybe almost every day. And he can't see it fit to make a request to the corporation to come and remove the tree from the pavement, so that when the children come out of school, instead of having to walk on the other side of the road, on the edge of the road, they could use the pavement to go home. And these are the things, when I talk, everybody is vexed, and people are saying making mischief and causing bacchanal, but I'm talking the truth.
No.
So hopefully in a couple of days from now, I might see
that problem
the
will be solved.
Clear.
But as you said that, one of the things that came out, and I think I had to make an intervention from time to time in that session yesterday, and incidentally started at 10 a.m. and finished all 30 minutes to 5 kind of thing. But of course, what I did say is that there must be what is called a symbiotic relationship, where the dedicated public servant, whether it be a councillor, whether it be a parliamentary representative, whether it be a minister, must also be able to work with the ordinary person to so that they could identify certain solutions to certain problems, and it's not just leaving it to the government. You complain about a pavement, but you leave it up to the government to of course, find out whether or not the job was done well, etc. You as the citizen, you as the beneficiary, you as the person for whom that pavement was constructed must also make your input and find the time to complain if it was shoddy job, or if it was inadequate, or if it was dysfunctional, even though state funds, or should I say taxpayers' money, would have been expended in order to make that happen. What would have been, well, what is your view on that? I know that you didn't have a time to address that specifically, but that was a concern that I raised.
Yeah, what happened? You see that particular issue I'm talking about? I would keep my eye on it. And if nobody address it, because what happened, that request had to pass through the same councillor, because the corporation had to say about that,
Right.
right? So I will be keeping an eye on that.
So you agree that
And I-
all citizens must take up that responsibility across the board, particularly in that area. I know crime is a little more ticklish in that you have to be as anonymous and so careful, because the criminal element may be lurking next door, and of course every shadow is some kind of informer. Well, I can understand that. I could leave that, separate and apart from what you just did in terms of seeing that there is a faulty, not traffic light, but street light, and seeing that there is a disruption to the free flow of pedestrians, and here it is, you made an intervention. I think that was wonderful, and every single citizen must be so inclined.
Yes, yesterday I just forget to make that intervention. Let
All
the
right.
people know, unless you don't go and meet your representative and let them know what's going on, they cannot know what's happening.
Everything, yeah,
Because
that's
they
right.
have so-
You could know
they have
everything
so much of things to
individually.
do.
Yeah.
And I make a pledge to my manager of the office
Right.
that I would be doing that. And
Right.
what I
You are
doing
the
is
eyes
not
and
for
ears,
me.
eyes and ears
What
and
I
nose
doing-
and hands.
Yes.
Yeah, out there.
Yes.
They're an extension
Yes,
of himself
I tell him,
or herself.
I tell him, I know they can't come out as how I could come out. I would make the time, and anything that I see need fixing, I would report to him.
Great.
And anytime I call him, he just take my call, he just listen to me, and this is what we want. And I thank them for how they operating.
Yeah, of
And
course.
even
Uh-huh.
the guy from Jolinjon office too.
All right. So
When I
you are
call them and
you're
I-
getting the response that you expect. At least a listening ear and some kind of action, because the first thing is a listening ear and then action. And of course that consummates or it completes the expectation for delivery, because it's about improving quality of life and standard of living at the end of the day for everybody in each community.
Yes,
All right.
right? And they having a meeting Wednesday.
Yes.
And I decide to tell everybody who come out to that meeting in County Central,
Okay.
if you don't come out and allow the people to know what's going on, they cannot attend to you.
Yes. That's
You
another
have to come
budget
forward.
pre-budget consultation. Another one.
Yes.
In that, right, okay, all right. All right, thanks very much for that intervention. Yes.
It's starting 6 o'clock in the Chickland Community Center.
Right, that is on Wednesday?
Yes.
Wednesday, all right, well, just repeat it for those who may be on air or those who may not be, but there are people who are listening and could convey the message. Just tell them again where and when, pre-budget.
Okay. County Central, Dr. David Lee would be having a pre-budget consultation at the Three Roads Community Center starting 6 o'clock.
Okay. Thanks very much, of course, for that intervention. And in the vein of commendation, of course, I want to thank the Honorable Minister of Labour, Mr. Batiste, for, of course, his intervention tonight on the matter that the lady raised. I think it is a wonderful exhibition of real concern for human beings, and that of course, demonstrating some high degree of public interest and public concern by the minister. So Lennox Batiste, words cannot find place to express how we feel on this program for you to make that intervention tonight. Being called, of course, impromptu on a matter. I'm sure that that caller from Labre felt much better now to know that it is that the conduct of these unscrupulous businessmen is optional, but legislation will be passed soon to make it not optional that you can or cannot be paid for lunch. That is madness. You are there at the behest of the company. You have to stick around on your luncheon break for the specific purpose of work after the luncheon break. You're a human being. You must eat, and therefore, of course, they should be responsible for paying for that hour that you would have been given for lunch purposes. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox, and good night to everybody in the live.
Yes, man. Good night.
Tobago.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox,
Hey.
I see the Lion King back again to Jackass scene, boy. I see Mr.
There's only one man. There's only one man in the world you can refer to is Rowley. But go ahead.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just imagine this man come and tell this country how Interpol, the Interpol is, right? So Antigua don't know nothing about that. Interpol don't know nothing about that. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service don't know nothing about that. But only he alone know.
Well, hear what they say. They say when a man knows that he is guilty of something, his conscience beat him to a frazzle, you know. So therefore, he's paranoia. He's paranoid. And therefore looking over his shoulder for blue lights and silver bracelets, which he introduced whilst he was Prime Minister into the political lexicon or the political dictionary or the political words in Trinidad and Tobago. But go ahead.
Let me ask you this, sir. He have a diplomatic passport?
Well, I would think that he may have had it temporarily, but I think it might have been taken away from him now that he's no longer Prime Minister, unless of course the government is generous enough to and courteous enough to recognize that he was a Prime Minister, whether he's a good Prime Minister or not, and give him that. But if it's me, because he was so damn bad as a Prime Minister, I would take it away.
Me too.
Yeah.
I will ask the question.
And I'm sure if he has one, the present government gave him it, but reluctantly. Reluctantly, not genuinely.
Yes. Anti-camps and them boob. Here is the next one now. All of that is because a Faris, you know, and the CPEP, because he by the what the fellow named Edwards, he felt him under the boss. Because he was
he said not me, boy, me taking that, not me taking that fall for them.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is not the first time that Al-Rari has done something like that in public office. Let us not waste time. Remember I was saying that when all those accusations were coming out, and I was saying that Al-Rari will be subjected to blue lights and silver bracelet very easily, because it's not the first time he did that. I mean, the major one with Vincent Nelson. Vincent Nelson pay a man $10 million to get a statement, a witness statement to set up Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. I mean, come on. These fellas of them have to understand that PNM is not the alpha and omega. They are not the beginning or the end, and that they are and that the PNM, there's nothing sacrosanct about them. There's nothing religious. There's nothing moral. There's nothing ethical about them. It's a bunch of opportunistic political parasites who have assembled in a collection of scamps. Go ahead, my friend.
And they will, here, listener, them really believe that taxpayers' money is them personal money, you know.
That's what I'm
you
saying.
See how them does behave?
Yeah.
That's how them does behave. Boy,
I
them
can't
amazing,
imagine
you know.
that them so stupid. I couldn't imagine them so stupid, you know. Because they never thought they would come out of office, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
because let me tell you something.
Well, here we're going on. All right, go ahead.
A whole lot brief for Al-Rari. But if they had gotten away with that by getting back into office, you know, the cabinet would have washed that under the carpet, and nobody would have been the wiser. And don't be surprised if they would have come up with a non-disclosure clause to fit that. Yeah, to fit that. Yeah, that's how stupid these people are. But go ahead, my friend.
The next thing, Mr. Lennox, before I go.
Yeah.
You notice Teochan quiet? Because he was the then Prime Minister.
Yeah.
You understand? So with all them deals going down, when this current government, right, continue to dig up and find all these things, you know, that'll jail all of them, you know. You see that whole entire former administration, rather early administration, they have to jail everybody.
Blatant, boy. It's too blatant. And
Yeah,
remember
boy,
what I
the
said
brutal,
about.
you know?
Remember what I said about Imsbert, that he in lasting no 5 years, he get out of that because one, his false pride, two, he will be exposed eventually, and three, he ain't seeing them who the other 12 in his class. So he would want to think, and I'm sure he's contemplating that very seriously. He see himself as a kind of square peg in round hole scenario, where of course these nincompoops around him really can be, because notice he's silent as well.
Yes.
Notice he's silent as well. Notice Young is silent as well, and Al-Rari has suddenly found what I consider to be a bout of pip. That was Rowley. Rowley introduced that as well. Pip. That what chicken does get when they have some kind of ailment. They have difficulty in cackling or making noise. Yeah.
Well, what I expect, I want to see what the police gonna do now, because I think the police should have done lock up Al-Rari already. The blue license and abusers should have been done visiting him already.
Yeah, because
this thing bust out in the open, you know.
Yeah, that statement that this CEO made would have been in an affidavit to take to the court, you know. To take to the court. So probably the police waited for the court to say what they ought to know they should do. Maybe they waited on that, because the court will make some kind of comment if it goes to full trial. Yeah.
Boy, let me tell you, boy, he bouncy clapping right now, yes, but let me get somebody a chance to sell it.
Yes, man. Yes, man. No problem, man. No problem.
All right.
Yes, people, of course, once again, I want to thank, of course, the Minister of Labour, Mr. Lenoy Batiste, for, of course, gracing us with his presence tonight. President, good night.
Good night, Professor Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend.
They got Martin inside.
Yes, man. I put on some more volume because I want to hear you. I find it as be talking. People have been saying it ain't coming off. It ain't coming off. Your contribution coming off too low. So right. So I put on all the volume. Go ahead.
Everybody wants to listen.
Yes, man. Everybody wants to listen. Yes.
You ever hear the movie they call Lion King?
Like what?
Lion King.
Lion King. Yes. Yeah.
You know what we have now? We have the Lion King. Lying.
I hear you. Yeah.
That man could lie.
Yeah, man.
But let me connect some dots that people might be able to connect with them. Now, he called the man a dog.
Yeah.
He mistook a wolf for a dog, eh?
Right.
Because the wolf in Parliament say, I'm coming for you, and you, and you.
Right.
Now, if he was flagged in Antigua, why he wasn't harassed leaving this country? You remember? Two days ago, when it had the heinous accident with the police constable, his wife and his son, with the son-in-law of the 1% owner of Price Plaza, Shogunas Plaza.
Okay.
When that person went to the airport, I suspected to run away. and he was held back.
Yes, that recent incident.
Right.
Okay, yes.
So if you on an Interpol list, they ain't gonna rub you down leaving the airport in Trinidad. They go ask you where you going, why you going, when you're coming back.
Yeah, but why would he say that he's on an Interpol list when there
Right.
has been no investigation
All right.
connected to him as yet,
Listen
and
to me.
that the police have not indicated that they are in search of a person of interest? You know, that is a nice generic
Right.
term that they use. That once held the office of Prime Minister. I mean, we would have known that already. Not so that would have been common
Right.
news. But I suppose, as I say, paranoia is a hell of a thing. Go ahead.
He is understood that is a real possibility. If a man says coming for
Yes.
you, and that is your peers, that is the person who is to sit down with you in cabinet, that is the person who planned the KC Nelson indemnity. Those were the persons who going 35 times to visit Maduro and come back. So I suspect someone close to him is being investigated. But we throw in corn to see if they will come out and identify that person. Because he most likely have contacts still inside there. He have the leadership of the police service, the DCPs and them who have questionable cases to answer. So I believe we throw that outside there to see if there might have been a misstep by the police, by the TGPS and the other people that might be involved with. But he has to understand it is a new COP who I witnessed until Friday morning. He gave a brilliant news conference, and he had his leadership in a corner, like in a class, and he didn't encourage them to participate in it at all. He told them, look, I am in charge of this. So something, I believe, something is going on. And people have to understand, this man, the Lion King, has a lot of questions to answer. A lot of issues with misbehavior in public office. He has admitted to taking the merit list. That should have reached climax already. He was part of a team who came up with the indemnity for KC, which is basically a misbehavior in public office. How can a cabinet conspire to defraud the UK government of taxes from KC Nelson? You understand?
Yes.
And if your Gary Sobers went 35 times to see a drug trafficker who has a bounty of over 50 million in the head, I have to investigate why you're going there for. You understand? Are you a bag man? So there's a lot of things we need investigated, and the fact is that the police, I am so happy with what I'm seeing, and I've seen on a clipping coming out for CNC3 that the kidnapped lady, Sati Karen, has been found alive in the forested area.
Okay.
So that is excellent news for the TGPS. So we're seeing rapid response. You saw it with the accident. When you catch the fella going off of the country, you saw it with this. You saw it with the arrest of the attorney with the guy who is allegedly chopped up the young lady and put her in a suitcase. So you've seen very, very good things coming out of the TTPS now. So I, as a citizen, feeling quite relieved that something is happening now. go on, Lennox.
Yes, man. Yes, man. Very good. I mean, why is that caller was, of course, making his presentation? What came very lucidly and very vividly to my mind is the myth that Rowley and they created to mystify the superlative, illusionary nature of the PNM. Let me repeat. What they try to do is to mystify the illusionary, superlative nature of the PNM, and that it has its tentacles, as we were saying, during the course of that 9 years that they mercilessly abused the people of Trinidad and Tobago under the guise that somehow they can't lose election. And there were people who were, of course, gravitated to that hogwash. And clearly it appears that many of them in the PNM believed it. Today, when, of course, the political operatives in CPEP has to go, and they are trying, of course, that miserable 13, that, of course, blighted 13, that what I consider to be overlay or overlap from, of course, the 9 years prior. And still somehow are in disbelief that they are where they are and ought to have been a long time ago, since 2015, in opposition, along with Rowley. What has happened in the last 2 months is the demystification or demesmerizing, let me put it that way as well, of the PNM. As we have been saying on this program, and when I call Rowley a rapist and a pedophile, I said so without fear of contradiction. But there are those who have some kind of moral, what I consider to be gravitation or pole that say you mustn't say that. You had to say it for these kind of people. Otherwise, they would abuse you, as we have seen. You remain complacent and you continue to grovel and continue, of course, to engage in subservient conduct. That is what they wanted. But we resisted and we triumphed and we dominated because they were exposed for who they were and still are. A bunch of opportunistic political parasites who those of us who recognized and was prepared, of course, to make the ultimate sacrifice, even at the expense of they bringing, of course, civil action against us, and at the same time concocting criminal action as well, or criminal conduct, or criminal circumstance in order to get their way. We have seen some people being charged for sedition. During the COVID, some, 34 of us, not me, I wasn't included, but I was there, charged for, of course, assembling and breaching, of course, the health regulations. And then, of course, on the following occasion, when more people came out, some 9,000, we were tear-gassed. And, of course, threatened with resistance. Get out of the savannah. Go on the other side of the road. The road that separates, of course, the savannah, the edge of the savannah, with, of course, other, what I consider to be real estate on the other side. So the road couldn't be more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 meters wide. And they still, from inside of the savannah, decided, of course, to pelt and to shoot tear gas at the retreating protesters and population. I and all had to take my jersey and cover my nose as that stuff burned its way through your eyes, etc. Yeah, that is what they did. Bunch of criminals, and we remained steadfast. And we said that they were criminals. And we said that they were abusers. And we said that they were delinquents. And we said that they were barbaric. And we said that they were engaging in behavior that is inimical to the interests of the people. And so we call them rapscallions. Yes, and we call them, of course, people who are engaged in behavior that under normal circumstance would be considered to be criminal. And today, as the investigations ensue and continue, you are going to see the manifestation now that they do not have control of anything in the public space or domain. Have no control over anything, public space and in the public domain. That is where we are. So we are demystifying the myth that Rowley and they try to project as if the PNM was some kind of what I consider to be superior political entity that is infallible. Well, we have, of course, disabused and rendered null and void and of no effect that false premise and that false notion and that fake projection onto the people. Thank God we are now free. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to all listeners on the live and on the network around the world. Share the live, share the live. We needed 40,000. And now and more than ever, Uncle Lennox have a light bill to pay and an internet bill to pay. And he need a pair of headphones. So please,
hey,
let me see.
As I say that, I ain't go for the headphones today, now boy. I don't go tomorrow. And the person was calling whole evening, but my phone itself, of course, went dead. So I had to, that's no excuse. I left to do it, but something came up and I had to divert. But go ahead, my friend. I will get it tomorrow.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you because you know why? You rather shut down a whole program, not for me and you for me to interview you Sunday night about Cock for Dolly, right? Because she liked Mike and she mouth. You didn't want to do the interview, but I went straight from this one. I will stay on this one because I want the listeners to understand, right? Especially those PNMs who still remain with PNM, pushing the narrative on a wheelbarrow, squeaky going on the road, making noise, so that people can know and the dog and them can rush them and make them feel that they're important. But when you talk about CPEP, and you talk, and the last word you use is that Bridget Anisette George is not in the parliament again. Then the Alsing and them don't have disclosure and non-disclosure. And they didn't have that these matters is sensitive. Because you see in CPEP, if they're thinking how they're thieving, but there is always say, when a thief set out to thief, you only thinking about what he's going for and what he can see. Because if you see that flowers behind you and the picture, then he wants everything. So that is the bad thing about a thief. But you see, it had different level of thieving. Some people specialize in what a thief. Because if you go back to the NGC board and CPEP, it have a similarity because I call it name. And Enel, Conrad Enel, was the big boy dog in NGC. When they take money and they get directive from who? It had to be Stuart Young, because I'm the energy minister, right? And they take that money and they put it in a LNG train one upgrade, right? That is the state money. And you know them fellas and them, if you check it, is billions them playing with. Then Enel call for immunity for himself and the board. And then he run down Suriname. And now he coming back to put aside the same NGC board that in order to put a lawyer. And why they put a lawyer? But here answer the question, he and Khan, answer the question, why they put over $4 billion in debt on the NGC book, you know? And now you see that CPEP is $1.4 billion. And they did actual immunity and they did actual indemnity. They get catch, hook, line, and sinker. But you know, Uncle Lennox, right? When your partner, Saltfish Face, right? As they call him, but I like to call him Keith Scotland, right? The Loch Neck from down on Sealot, right?
Right.
You understand? They walk into a dry wall because they want to sympathize and blow things out of proportion, and they expose themselves with the teeth in, and they try to denounce it and say that my political leader, my party, I support. They say that what we bias and people ain't winning and people we unjust and my leader is a dictator. No, the thief in because Chiotong make an error. Look at how much error. Look at error. Chiotong make an error with a note, a cabinet note, which is 6 billion and is a billion US dollars. A mistake with Perenco and them. Yeah? Then India make $3-point-something billion is an electronic glitch. Eh? Now you come and you tell it, it's CPEP, right? That is you give an email to reducing and you have the authority. Use the minister. The minister don't have the authority, is the cabinet. But I want to remind Faris, you said the easy way, it always leave a trail. Money does leave a trail. But here we're going on. This is not extra housing development. This is money trail. And just as how they had Chinese Gate, right? I want you to know that they will follow the money. And I only hope you run back to be the same descendant of the Holy Prophet, you know? Because all I have to answer, just answer the question. Because misbehavior in public office is nice. And Keith Rowley, yes, you is a clown once again. And if you're anybody who listens, just go up on Interpol International or England, and you'll see all who Interpol have a question. It's simple. Interpol is online. You just go up Interpol, and it's a person of interest, and you just scroll through. And you might see that Rowley was a person of interest. But he and his friend and them, now he give up the power. If Interpol have him as an interest, I want to ask him if he's in Amsterdam or when he went to Ghana, right? Because here what's going on. Interpol has come from countries you visit and they conduct business without proper documentation and accountability. You'll notify Interpol to watch you, right? And I like how you went to Antigua first because who you went to look for? Your good friend Amor to give him a brief. So have a good night, Uncle Lennox. But here what's going on. Your Oma interview, tomorrow, please God. Have a nice night, everybody.
I hear you, my friend. Of course, well, Rowley knows that his asses are grasses. He knows that very well. I'm using the plural here because I am, of course, referring as well to his assembled co-conspirators. And immediately, of course, one has to make reference to the Petrotrin. And you know, that too, there is a paucity of evidence as far as documentation as to the decision. Who were part and parcel of it? How many of them were part of it? How many dissented? They can't find, of course, in court, let's call it notes of evidence. But of course, in cabinet and in general meetings, let's call it minutes. You can't find the minutes. You can't find the minutes as far as the cabinet is concerned. You can't find the minutes as far as the board of Petrotrin is concerned. A bunch of rapscallion, a bunch of skullmen and conmen, a bunch of course, what I consider to be palpably, conspicuously, and of course, well known for their evil, anti-democratic, anti-Trinidad and Tobago, poor governance, I won't call it strategy, but poor governance conduct, the infiltration of independent institutions in this country, the undermining of the electoral process in this country, the raiding and pillaging of the treasury of the country, the influencing for pernicious and devilish, or should I say, anti-Trinidad and Tobago's interests by, of course, subverting and undermining and influencing persons that would have held public office, not necessarily politically, but in institutions such as the public service, the police service commission, the public service commission, and I will go as far as to say the police service itself, the DPP department, and the numero uno, the office of president of the country. The office of president of the country. You put a woman there who said that we must, of course, what? Subscribe to the gospel of the PNM. Let me see if I find that. I need to make you people understand, just in case you are a novice and you may not be familiar, and that you were only, of course, hearing about, of course, the present president and her political association with that evil, wicked, diabolical, slavish, uncanny, ruthless, brutal, barbaric group of individuals assembled in this cursed organization, a cesspool of crime and criminality, as they brutally delivered unto the people their harsh, reckless, and acidic policies and programs. I'm trying to get, of course, the statement that was regularly made, or for which she became famous, at talking about the president of the country. The office will always be respected. But when you have elements that would have infiltrated those offices, like that of Prime Minister, he in turn polluted the ministerial offices that would have made up the government and therefore the cabinet of the country. We must not only express our disapprobation or disapproval, but we must despise. We must be venomous. We must be brutal and ruthless. We must let them know never again. With such a bizarre and evil be tolerated in Trinidad and Tobago. That is where we are. That is what we are talking about. And therefore all of us in unison must also say never again, these ugly inside and outside son of a bitches. A pleasant good night.
A pleasant good night to you, Professor Lennox Smith.
Good night, my
And
friend.
to everybody on the line. A pleasant good night to one and all. Well, Lennox Smith, I ain't lying to tell you. The smile, when you see how the sun just peep out in the morning to start the day. The
Yes.
same way the smile peeping out of my face right now because I see blue lights and silver bracelet and ankle bracelet too, eh? Silver
Yeah,
bracelet
you
and
gotta
ankle-
make sure you confine them in more ways than one.
All
No
the time.
escape.
all the time. You understand?
Yes.
And I telling a lot of people, Lennox, that Rowley and them had to make plenty jail. And you know, yeah, whether they be telling me for the past 5 years. They say in Trinidad, no politician don't make a jail. And if anybody had to make a jail, it's Kamala and them and the UNC had to make it first. I say, well, let me tell you something. Old people have a saying, when meeting pass here. Now, if my grandfather and them was alive, and probably my father might have tell them that, and I say, nah, but that is happening. But they may realize that we living in the technical era in terms of computer and technology and cameras and all these different apparatus that assist us daily. And what the PNM can get away with 40 years ago, you see this era called 2025, these people are the main, you know. Thank God for social media. The local media right now, instant a chance where the news is concerned. Because these so-called journalists, I just listened to them when they're asking some questions. And I was like, why these people are asking this kind of kindergarten question? And I asked him, I said, these people is local news reporter. Them is not correspondents or journalists. Them is news reporter. So I don't see all Rowley doing today is simply smoke and mirage. It's deflection. And he doing say believe his own lies no more. That Rowley, that wicked evil man called Keith Rowley. He go pay for it, you know. You see what you do them people and them for COVID, the elderly people make them come out in the rain and people to come and lend them chairs and tent and all kind of thing. You see that part of COVID. Because Lennox, right in my little village here, it had people, especially wives, go in the bedroom to wake up the husband or to make sure the husband ready to go to work. And when they come to meet them, they meet the man dead and the bed before wife. He went and take a vaccine to save his work, but not realizing he putting his life on the line. Take his life. You understand? Right in the village here, strong and healthy people who's telling us everybody they ain't go, according to Rowley, if you ain't go to work, if you ain't take the vaccine, you're gonna lose your work, but not realizing it's your life you're throwing away. These people in my picture, I want to be a part of that jail that they have to make to put these people in. Them have to make a special jail for these people in Lennox. Where the pipe in that prison, when they open it, the water has to be dripping. It shouldn't be running. It should be dripping. This is very matter pay. Doctor not listening.
Yes, my friend. And no one will fault you. No one will disagree. No one will have reservations. And ought not to have any at all. Because it is simply justice manifesting itself and unfolding both in the expressions of the general population who are conscious as to the evil that was meted out, not mitigated, that wouldn't be the appropriate word, meted out to the population in the most egregious, the most bizarre, the most inhumane, the most barbaric, and in the most conspicuous of manner to demonstrate in more ways than one that these people are simply inhumane, dangerous, callous, and really believe that somehow Trinidad and Tobago was bequeathed to them. And I have always asked the question, if they really believe that Trinidad and Tobago was bequeathed to them, was willed to them, who gave it to them? And of course, in their blighted and cursed response, they will speak of Eric Williams. And then the logical question must be, if they believe that Eric Williams gave Trinidad and Tobago to them, then who gave Trinidad and Tobago to Eric Williams? Who gave Trinidad and Tobago to Eric Williams? And then, of course, when one looks at Balize House, and when one knows the fact that in 2015, the PNM was bankrupt according to Rowley. And according to Rowley, not a contractor worked on Balize House. And we have proven time and time again, and we have proven without fear of contradiction, and it has not been refuted by them, that it is simply not so. And as if there is some diabolical force that have invaded the PNM and that has surrounded the PNM, the very company that was very ostentatious, very overt in its support for the construction of Balize House, blocking the street in front of Balize House to pour concrete in the basement, are talking about Jusamco. Jusamco. And as if the Lord generated his curse, and to tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago in the most pellucid, the most conspicuous, the most transparent way, the contract that was given to the company for the extension of the highway to Point 14, and that piece of that highway that collapsed into the swamp below, was the same Jusamco company. To tell us without fear of contradiction, without any ambiguity, that Rowley told us a blatant and unadulterated lie when he said that companies that were contracted by the government for any purpose did not work on Balize House. That is the level of curse. And today, as predicted, Balize House will remain there as a monument, unfinished, incomplete, for time immemorial, to tell Trinidad and Tobago, those living and those to come, that never again must the PNM be in any public office in this country. And their destructive propensity is being demonstrated with what I consider to be the blighted 13 coming out of the 28th of April. Exercise as we express our franchise in favor of the UNC Kabla Prasad Bisesa and the coalition of interests. People, I wanted, of course, tonight to treat with the 1990 attempted coup, all prepared, but I will do so tomorrow instead. I will do so tomorrow instead because it's already quarter to 10 o'clock, and you know we are supposed to make our departure at 9:30. So I want to say at this point in time, I have the clip where, of course, the present president of the country repeatedly told the population that to accept the gospel of the PNM, and that's a gospel that is blighted, a gospel that spells larceny of the resources of the country, corruption, nepotism, cronyism. That is what this current president told us when she was actively involved, and therefore telling us that she could separate party from the office of president. Oh, hell no. Hell no. If she could resign in the morning, better fit for all of us. But I suspect she is awaiting blue lights and silver bracelets for people like Rowley and his conspirators against Trinidad and Tobago in a spectacular display of what? Of treason. Treason. Not just misbehavior in public office, you know. Not just abuse of office and therefore corruption, you know. Treason. She's waiting to pardon them. So the government of the day has to move strategic. Strategic. I say no more. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Oh, well, let's take one more call before we go, before we make our departure. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Uncle Lennox, good night.
Good night, my friend.
Uncle, good night, good night, Trinidad and Tobago, and a special good night to Ms. Kamala, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisasa.
Yes, man.
I wanted to make a show tonight.
Yes.
Piracy and treason is the only two non-bailable offense on the Constitution right now. After they remove murder and give murder bail, you know?
Yes, murder and all has bail. Murder and all has bail. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so it's only treason and piracy is the only two non-bailable offense on the Constitution right now.
That's right.
Yeah, man. So have a good night, man.
Oh, thank you very much. You wanted to inform us. Thank you very much for that piece of information. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
so you see, he is correct. He is correct. Not even murder has bail. But of course, yeah, murder has bail, right? And I hope I said it correctly the first time around. Murder has bail. You can't get bail for murder. But of course, treason, no. And of course, as you rightly said, an old piece of law, but these days you don't expect to have piracy in the way that it was, I think, in the 15th, 16th, 17th, maybe around the 17th century, thereabout. When, of course, everybody ruled who was unruly, the seas between, of course, Europe and the New World, coming across the Atlantic Ocean and into, of course, the Caribbean Sea, a battleground for a lot of skirmishes and battles of European nations for possessions in the New World, and of course New World will include the Americas, North America, Central America, and South America. And that being as it may, of course, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Of course, I'll see you tomorrow night as we continue. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, as we continue with these and other matters. Let's close off as we started with, of course, the three blind mice. I see the PNM as a totally blind blind. And of course, it is said that in blind man country, one-eyed man is king. I wonder what they say when everybody is blind. Everybody is blind, the 13 blind. I wonder what they will say of that. You, maybe tomorrow night you could assist me, or on the ground report in the morning, to tell me what they will say of a situation where everybody is blind. That being as it may, of course, let me just, where is it? All right. I'm trying to get the music. Let me get it in front here. Why am I not getting it? Oh no, sorry. All right. That being as it may, let me get it here.
If I lie, ask Kamal about the bacchanal down at the convention when Ivan asked Williams, Doc, why Venezuela don't want we to smelt her? Doctor, can you tell me why Jamaica vex with we? Eric say, tell Manley and Burnham I've got oil. Let Barrow kiss me tail, oil don't spoil. 3 of them come like 3 blind men. Don't you know? Manley, Burnham, Barrow. They're running bout only setting strife, cutting their tails with Venezuela's knife. Did you ever see such jackasses in your life as them 3 blind men? Ivan said, look, doctor, didn't you ask Venezuela for warships to help we in the 70 mutiny? From Barrow we get rum, from Manley aluminum, Burnham feeding we with rice, yet you calling him a blind mice. Eric said, let Burnham keep he rice, I've got oil. They will have to pay my price, oil don't spoil. 3 of them come like 3 blind mice. Don't you know? Don't harm our own. I treat them like if they were my wife. I give them money like peas by Christ, but it's my own throat they're trying to slice. Them 3 blind mice. So true. Goodbye.
This is Caribbean.
Them 3 mice do not know is I have them on the toe. Food for them to be fed. Without me all of them dead. Is my people have to toil to give them pitch and oil. Yet they back in Venezuela and don't want my land to smelter. Eric say they value my money as dirt, but I've got oil.
Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago.
If I like, ask Kamal about the bacchanal down at the convention when Ivan asked William, Doc, why Venezuela don't want we to smelt? Doctor, can you tell me why Jamaica vex with me? Eric say, tell Manly and Burnham I've got oil. Let Barrow kiss me tail, oil don't spoil. Three of them come like three blind men.
And to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages, in your offices, and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember to take the gospel of the PNM and to spread it in your homes, your villages,